Hello friends, if you guys are here then you're probably curious about one of the gaming world's biggest mysteries of recent years, Riot Games' still nameless MMORPG. We're gonna take a look at how it all began, what the renowned developers originally promised and why those promises sound rather different today. Why was one of the most ambitious titles in years suddenly relaunched, and what dark shadows of the potential gacha systems may be looming on the horizon. Get ready for the latest facts, the more worrying theories, and of course my personal view on where this epic project is headed. Let us dive in. Ever wondered how Riot Games conceived the idea of an MMO? It started much earlier than you guys might think. Back in 2016, well before any official word, Riot quietly assembled a dream team, hiring veteran talent to explore the concept. In 2019, on the eve of Arcane's release, the studio finally confirmed an MMORPG set in the League of Legends universe. The project was headed by Greg Street, Ghostcrawler, a former Blizzard luminary, soon joined by developers with credits on The Witcher, Mass Effect, and Halo. It sounded like a fairy tale. Early statements from the team were equally promising. They emphasized social interaction and the need to form groups. Player activity would be monitored to generate content people actually enjoy. In one post, Greg Street also emphasized that the devs did not want to dump a mountain of varied content at launch, avoiding that second job grind, in which players feel forced to log in daily just to level and gear up. Later, new details surfaced on social media. The game would feature a full character creator, yet still immerse players in familiar Runeterra storytelling and introduce League heroes. Although only a handful would appear at launch, patches were set to add extensive story arcs and new zones where those champions would become focal figures, reminiscent of World of Warcraft expansions that spotlight a major character through quests and raids. And it would seem those promises sounded appealing enough. But as we know, most self-respecting MMOs use some paid model, either a subscription or a one-time box purchase, so to say buy to play. And here the main question arose, would the Riot MMO also be pay to play or buy to play? In 2022, during an interview, Greg Street confirmed it would be free to play, though he reminded fans that all details remain subject to change. The title is still in early development, so business models and in-game systems are far from final. At this stage, however, the team believes free-to-play best fits Riot's philosophy. Both free-to-play and box price models have pros and cons, but the positives currently outweigh the negatives. Among the many reasons Riot's MMO will launch free-to-play is its target audience. Riot traditionally aims for a vast player base. In that case, revenue per user may be lower than with a subscription, yet that is offset by sheer scale. Anyone can jump in without paying. However, of course, Riot Games will sell in-game cosmetics. We still don't know how exactly this will look. I suspect the MMO will include an in-game shop with rotating daily or weekly items plus a catalog of always available cosmetics, much like the League's skin system, aside from event-exclusive or mythic content. Still, I'm confident Riot's MMO will offer more than just outfits. Riot is famous for integrating battle passes into all its titles: Valorant, the League itself, and Legends of Runeterra. The model has proved lucrative. Historically, MMORPGs have not leaned on battle passes, yet there is no reason Riot could not add one here. If a battle pass were included, it might work like this: a season lasting roughly 3 months, each with a distinct theme. The pass would feature, say, 75 tiers. Each day you log in, you would earn progress toward the next tier. The pass could have 2 tracks, a paid tier with exclusive rewards and a free tier with more modest loot. In that case, the premium track would obviously contain far greater value, and the free track might even skip rewards at certain levels. This is of course speculation for now. The only confirmed facts via Greg Street are that the MMO is planned as free-to-play, beginner-friendly, and easily accessible. It's gonna use microtransaction to cover the costs. As for monetization, Street has confirmed only that cosmetic items will be available for purchase. At first glance, free-to-play sounds great. The game is accessible to everyone with no barrier to entry. However, in my opinion, this free status hides serious risks, especially given current trends in the gaming history. If a game is free, it is almost certain to contain paid content, and not just cosmetics. In today's free titles, a pay-to-win model often emerges, where real money grants in-game advantages. For developers who have invested huge resources in creating an MMO, releasing it for free makes little sense unless they're a charity. They still need to recoup their costs and turn a profit. I fear that free may translate into one reality. In order to enjoy the game, progress efficiently, and remain competitive, you will either grind 24/7, although Riot claims it does not want this for players, or open your wallet. That is something I would hate to see in Riot's long-awaited MMO. It is also worth noting that Greg Street's interview took place 2 years ago, and since then Riot has reduced the amount of free loot in League of Legends and introduced gacha mechanics for certain skins. The latter is a worrying sign that could echo within Riot's new MMO. However, all the information known at the time of Greg's interview sounded inspiring. Yet, things did not proceed as planned. In early 2023, we learned that Greg Street, one of the project's key figures, had left Riot for personal reasons. Naturally, this caused concern, but Greg reassured fans that the project remained in capable hands and development would continue. Well, that was reassuring. But that is not all. The most shocking moment arrived in late 2023, early 2024, when Riot co-founder Mark Merrill announced that the MMO was being restarted. Yeah, you guys heard that correctly and read that correctly. The reason? The original vision, they said, quote-unquote, wasn't different enough from what you can play today. At this stage, many players theorized that the new MMO would pivot to a gacha-centric model similar to Genshin Impact. For those unfamiliar, Genshin locks all characters and top-tier weapons behind a gacha system, effectively a lottery. To fund pulls without paying, players must grind for months to gather currency, and even then there is no guarantee of landing the event character. Sticking to free or lower-tier heroes slows progress dramatically, pushing users towards spending. And now, seeing Riot's recent actions, I cannot shake the feeling the company has grown greedy and is drifting from what once made it special. The closure of Riot Forge, an initiative for third-party LOL games, and the aggressive rollout of gacha skin mechanics in existing titles give me serious doubts. I vividly recall Greg Street's vision for Riot's MMO, a game playable at one's own pace without a perpetual progress race, allowing time for other hobbies. Echoing Naoki Yoshida's philosophy for Final Fantasy XIV, these words promised a quality player-focused product. However, despite the official line that Greg left for personal reasons, I am convinced the growing push for gacha skins within Riot influenced his departure. Even more worrying, I suspect the new goal is to build the MMO chiefly on gacha and microtransactions. Considering how little we have heard about development and how bleak the genre's outlook is for fresh releases, my quote-unquote conspiracy theory feels plausible. I would not be surprised if Riot relaunched its ambitious WoW-style MMO only to morph it into something closer to Genshin Impact. That might explain why Greg Street, a supporter of traditional MMORPG design and the one genuinely passionate about the project, chose to leave Riot. It would be one thing if he departed only for personal reasons. But my theory gains weight from another fact. Barely a month later, Greg announced his own studio, Fantastic Pixel Castle, which will also develop MMORPGs. All of this raises many questions. But let's get back to Riot Games. If, during the development of their long-awaited MMO, they turn it into a kind of Genshin Impact 2.0, it will be a complete failure and, frankly speaking, a betrayal of the expectations of fans. I simply cannot imagine anything worse than watching such a respected company sink to what I consider the lowest tier of the industry. Why am I so frank and categorical? Because gacha games were never designed to give players joy. They exist to extract as much money as possible. It is not merely a business model, it is a predatory approach that exploits human weaknesses. I see how these games create real addiction, and that is no exaggeration. Debating with gacha game fans who deny their dependency is like trying to convince a drug addict he is not hooked. It is not just a metaphor, it is the bitter truth. These titles turn people into compulsive gamblers, and honestly, some need genuine help, not new spins. The gameplay in such projects is manipulation. You grind for hours to gather currency for a pull, then realize it merely nudges you to spend real money. It is a vicious loop that is difficult to escape. The worst part that the gameplay itself is inseparable from the gacha. It exists only to funnel players into an endless money trap. If Riot lets this infect its MMO, it won't just disappoint, It will shatter any faith that they can still craft something honest and great for their community. Although Riot has introduced gacha skins in LOL at prices many find unjustifiable, I sincerely hope they do not double down on that path in their new MMO. For now, no one knows which direction development is taking. On the one hand, in July 2023, Netflix published an interview with devs working directly on the MMO. They said the game would feature player factions and even classes, a gradual rollout of Runeterra regions, regional rivalries and more. But on the other hand, just 6 months later, late 2023 to early 2024, as I've said before, Riot co-founder Mark Merrill announced the whole MMO was being restarted. Then silence followed. And now to the latest news. Despite, so to say, going dark, faint rays of light reveal the MMO is alive and well. Mark Merrill stated in 2024 and 2025 that the team now has clear direction and tremendous momentum, and he's confident the game will launch by 2030. At the end of 2024 and into 2025, we have seen active hiring. New executive producer Fabrice Condominas and the engineer manager Orlando Salvatore, formerly of World of Warcraft, are staffing up. Job posts keep appearing: back-end engineers, Unreal Engine tool programmers, 3D environment artists. This means only one thing: the project is moving into full production. They are building not just a game, but the infrastructure for something meant to live for years. The thing that encourages myself personally is that the Riot MMO developers actively play other MMOs themselves. That gives me hope they will draw from the best and avoid turning their title into gacha trash like Genshin Impact. Although no firm dates exist, analysts suggest that open-world, so to say, development launch could begin by October 2025, with teasers and an alpha by late 2025 or early 2026. If all goes well, release could land in 2028-2029. Can you guys imagine how much can change by then? Will it become a triumph worthy of Riot's legacy or a disappointing dive into gacha addiction? Only time will tell what fate awaits Riot's MMORPG. Do share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you guys for visiting my tavern. See you soon over a mug of the finest ale in all of Runeterra.